In a world
In a world
where tomorrow's blockbusters reign,
and yesterday's classics are forgotten,
3 women intend to remember.
Hey everyone, welcome to Millennials at the Movie House, the podcast where 3 friends watch older movies and review them from our modern everyday perspectives. I'm Betsy.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Serena.
And today we watched Sunset Boulevard. Dun, dun, dun. 1950, directed by Billy Wilder, written by Charles Brackett, Billy Wilder, and D.M. Marshman Jr., starring William Holden, Gloria Swanson, Eric von Stroheim, and Nancy Olson. Quick synopsis, Tracy, go.
Okay, so first off, the opening monologue is just beautiful.
Gorgeous.
This is a film noir without the detective.
Yes.
Yeah.
We start out on a murder and then we rewind 6 months, I think they said.
Yeah, 6 months earlier.
Something like that,
right.
of how we got there. So it's the narrator is telling the story of how this murder takes place. And it's about a down on his luck Hollywood writer who basically is avoiding the repo guys who's going to take away his car. And he ends up pulling into what looks like an abandoned driveway and ends up being a very famous silent Hollywood star's home. And she
in ruins.
And yeah, well, she's still
the
kind of
exterior, but the interior is
yeah. And it turns out she's crazy and she wants back to the movies. She wants back to the fame and adopts him and gives him she is his sugar mama.
I literally said these exact words.
Comes to find out she's not a little crazy. She is a lot crazy. And he is very much older than him, maybe like by 20.
Yeah, 19 years to be exact.
So.
19 years to be exact.
There you go.
I looked it up.
So like and then he realizes that she wants more and he's like, do I want this? And then she ends up trying to kill herself and he's like, okay, I'll come back. And then he tries to leave when he again realizes how crazy she is.
She hid her crazy in the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
a little.
Well,
it's just like
spiraled,
if you're leaving, nobody can have you. And then she shoots him and he's the dead guy from the beginning.
Yeah. So I had a feeling that that's how it was going to go down. And I actually was able to call a couple of things ahead of time. So I was proud of myself for that, but it wasn't like it was too obvious of a movie. It was just like, I kind of knew. I was like, I had a vibe.
Died.
Yeah. I knew somebody died.
Well, and I also don't think it was a mystery who died. It's just you didn't get a clear read on his face at the beginning.
I feel like I didn't know if it was me because I really am bad at faces, especially black and white. It was black and white faces and older faces all kind of look the same to me. And like, white guy. They're all white guys.
Yeah. It was unclear. It wasn't like, that's me in the pool. Now let's rewind 6 months. It kind of was a little open-ended there.
Yeah.
Well, this is fresh in my mind because I literally like 20 minutes prior just wrapped this.
Yeah.
So
good synopsis, Tracy.
Thank you.
I'm going to do a couple of quick tidbits because there's just so many fun little tidbits in this. First off are the cameos. So this was because there's a lot to do with old Hollywood, silent Hollywood. They brought in a lot of aging silent stars.
It was the error. Was this, before we continue, was this placed in the 50s or was this placed a little earlier?
I think it was placed in the same period it was made.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if we had just come out of the era of silent films.
No,
I think when a bunch of people were kind of just, fell off the map because they weren't able to meld into the new. And we've had a discussion about that before.
The reason I think it was present to when it was filmed is because of the cameos, because there were a number of actors who were playing themselves.
Yeah.
So Cecil B. DeMille, first off, is like the big one. He was, huge in the silent era. And he played himself. Hedda Hopper was in there, Buster Keaton, Anna Q. Nilsson, and H.B. Warner. So
what was the nickname he gave them? It was like it was
the wax.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the wax.
the wax
Something, yeah.
something. Yeah. So that was fun. Like, it was kind of fun to catch them, you know, if you knew who they were. And
Yeah.
of course, Eric von Stroheim, who actually, you know, he was more than a cameo. He actually was one of the main characters. But the one of the fun facts is the movie that Norma is showing Joe was actually a movie from the 30s starring her, directed by Eric von Stroheim. So it was like this that was a fun
cool.
little Easter egg in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was a whole thing. It was like the thing within the thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. And that's what he said. I was her first husband and I produced her early film or breakout film or whatever. She was 16.
This is a horrible comparison, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In the first Ocean's 11, when Rusty is having a poker, he's teaching stars how to play poker. That's kind of what this reminds me.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm never going to be able to unsee that now. And then the last little note I have is 2 quotes came out of this movie. Top 100 movie quotes of all time from the AFI list. Do you guys know what the 2 are?
I know one of them. Because
the one of them is like top 10. Like,
there was a lot of great dialogue in this.
There was. I took a couple of quotes down.
A lot.
But it was and maybe I'm missing maybe the second one, but the first one is all right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Yes.
And honestly, I had heard that quote and I had been watching this movie and
you did not
put them together. And it was the closing line. And I was like, that's why. There it is.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
I think it's one of the top most misquoted movie quotes as well, because everyone thinks it's "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille." Yep, not that. But the other one that made the top 100 is "I Am Big. It's the films that got small."
I have that.
I am big. It's the films that got small. It's a picture that got small. Is it the film or the picture?
Big. I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
That's what it is.
Boom.
I wrote it down.
Good job. You caught it.
Down.
You caught the big one. Good job. All right. Those are all my little tidbits off the bat.
I love tidbits. Those are my favorite parts.
All right. So how did we like it?
I liked it.
Good.
I liked it a lot.
I wrote
me too.
My first thing I wrote was opening narrative. I'm already in love.
Good.
Yep. The way it set this whole scene up by that like detective noir. It was beautifully written. The first couple of minutes was just really great.
I immediately turned on subtitles once I heard them going. I was like, I don't want to miss a single word. I popped the subtitles on real quick.
Yeah, that's totally fair. It was so well done that it felt like it was, and we were watching a remastered version, so it felt like it was a new movie doing an old movie instead of just being an old movie.
Yes. Yeah.
But have you guys heard of this movie at least?
I actually have heard of it. I just didn't I didn't think it was this film.
Okay.
Same. I had heard, like, I've heard of the quote. I had heard of the title. I don't think I knew the plot of either.
Yeah.
But things kind of fell into place, I think. So yes and no.
Okay. Yeah. I thought because I was kind of on the fence about the level of fame this movie had, because I think it is one of those where everyone knows the name Sunset Boulevard, but could not give any information. Like, nobody's seen it in years and all that jazz. So,
no, I'm glad we watched this. This definitely was worth a watch. 100%.
Good. I'm glad we all liked it, guys. That's good. So I will say I actually have a pet peeve, and this movie kind of falls into it, but transcends it. So I have a pet peeve subgenre. The way that Tracy, you hate mumblecore. I hate movies about movie making.
Oh yeah.
Because it's very egocentric, and movie makers think that movie making is the greatest thing in the world and that everyone wants to move to LA and be movie makers. And it's like, no.
Prince and the Showgirl.
But yes. Wow, good call.
Yeah.
I was like,
job, Serena.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But this movie transcends that. Absolutely transcends that.
It does it in like, a classic way. Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump in. Top of the marquee. What was everyone's favorite part?
My favorite part was the Agatha Phillips scene between Betty and Joe.
Agatha Phillips scene.
Because I wanted to ask you specifically, Betsy, about this scene. It's when Joe goes to, right? Joe's the main guy, right?
Yep.
Gillis. Yep. So he's like, I need to get out. I need to go find a party. I'm going to go to my friend's house because I know he must be having a party.
Yeah.
He
I
goes
got to
to
see
the
people
party.
my own age, he says,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes. So he goes to the party and he meets Betty again, and they kind of rekindle whatever, and they want to have like a conversation. So they go to the rainbow room.
Oh yeah.
The side room or whatever. And they have a conversation, but they adopt
It's a character play.
It's character play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Little
is
RP.
very flirtatious.
Yeah.
Almost up to a kiss. I tried to Google it quick and I didn't get very far. Maybe if I get it again with like specific quotes or whatever, but they were these characters, Agatha and Philip. And I couldn't tell if they were trying, because it's a movie about movies and they were both writers, if they were trying to be like, I was like, oh, maybe I've never seen Gone with the Wind, but I was like, oh, maybe it's characters from Gone with the Wind or something along like that. Or if they're just both writers. So they made up these like characters or whatever. It was very flirty, very cute. I loved it.
That's interesting. That's interesting that because the first time I actually watched this twice in the past like 4 days. And the first time around, I was really confused by that scene because I didn't register that they had jumped into like this kind of flirtatious character, writer thing.
It took me a minute to put the pieces together.
Right. So I couldn't quite tell. I thought that they were like really just like, oh, screw Arnie and we're just gonna,
At first I was like upset in Arnie's defense.
So it wasn't
I
until the
was
second time around.
I was too, but it was just the chemistry was there and the little characters. I was just, it reminded me of, this is a weird connection. What was the movie with the guy who wasn't the guy he said he was, and he was climbing outside the window to get to the bad guys who thought he was also a bad guy, but he actually ended up being a detective.
Charade.
Sure. Yes. Charade.
It reminded you of the window couple.
People. Yeah. Wow, that was a horrible
I got you there.
Thank
I got you there.
Anyway. Leave it to Betsy. Leave it to Betsy. Better call Betsy. If you need help getting there, she's going to get you there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. All right. That was good. That was a good choice. Serena, what was your favorite part?
So I loved the chemistry between Betty and Joe. There was an inner turmoil there because of Artie, and I thought that he
was a good guy.
He was a really great guy, and I thought that
she ends up with Artie at the end. It's okay, everybody.
No, I know, but still, like, it almost was like, it was almost like she was just settling for him because she's like, well, I'm in love with Joe, basically. I mean, she without saying it, said it. So I have the chemistry between those two, and then I have the lighting. The different lighting, I find this with the black and white films. They do such a spectacular job with the lighting. I always think to myself, black and white's going to be boring. I like a pop of color, but I'm never disappointed.
Right. Well, and let's remember that this is an era where they could have done color if they wanted, and they chose black and white.
At first, the opening scene, it was so dark. I was like, oh, this is going to suck.
I thought
so too. And then it was daytime, and I was like, okay, I can.
It was a choice, and I think it was the right choice for this movie.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, because they could do color and they had been doing black and white movies for so long, they've mastered the art of using light. That's what they had to use.
Right.
So they used it and they mastered it.
Yeah. Yep. No, they did a great job with that. At first I was like, oh boy, it was the cops rolling down Sunset Boulevard,
It honestly, it's actually a really boring opening couple of shots.
Yeah, I wasn't flabbergasted, but I was I got into it pretty quickly. It only took me about 5 minutes to get into it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the shots too well. It's because the dialogue at the beginning was so strong.
So, yeah. Serena, I totally missed what your main favorite part was. I'm sorry. It was
the chemistry between Betty and Joe was kind of like, I don't want to even say that was my favorite part, because honestly, the plot kind of was my favorite part. Like, I'm kind of torn between all of these things because the plot held up. It wasn't so confusing that I couldn't follow.
Yep.
And just, it wasn't one of those things that you're just like, why? Like we didn't know exactly how it was going to end, but there was just enough twist to keep me interested.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
it was tight. It was just tight.
There was no sloppy
yeah.
strings, loose strings. I mean, everything added up, and that closing scene. Oh my gosh.
Amazing, right?
What a scene. I was like, oh my gosh, is this the end of the movie? I don't even, is she going to the psych ward?
And I had seen that scene a lot. Like that is an iconic moment.
Yeah.
But just in the context, like I never had the right context for it. And it is just gorgeous. It's beautifully shot.
When she's walking down the stairs, if you looked at like the photographers and the detectives and stuff, she's moving. And I wasn't watching her, and I should go, but I should do, this is worth a rewatch.
Yeah.
To watch different things.
100%.
All right. Like I said, I watched it like within 2 days of each watch. It still had 100% of my attention on the second watch, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was actually watching everybody else on the staircase, and they were almost stand still,
like mannequins.
Until she kind of reached them, and if they kind of had to like move out of her way, or like they turned to keep watching her. So they were moving, but it was in stark contrast to her, and it was just a great scene.
Everyone else is just a prop in her movie.
Yep. Right.
Yes.
And they just fed into her, like everything for her. And
I was wondering about that, because if this was her grand exit to the psych ward, or wherever it was that they were leading her off to, what an epic exit. And everyone, she was so well loved by the people who did know her as Norma,
especially her husband, her first husband.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Like, can you believe it?
That truth bomb. You're like,
that was big. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really loved Max and his character. And he is one of those where I actually do recognize him from other movies, and it took me a really long time to register who he was, but
he might have been one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, his character was really great.
But, because
his like just complete loyalty. Anyway, yes, okay. My favorite part,
Betsy, what's your favorite part?
is Gloria Swanson. Her acting. I mean, she steals the show. Like, yes, we were hooked, within 5 minutes, but it really wasn't until she appeared on screen that you're like, oh, that's what this movie is. Okay.
I knew.
Think I agree with you, but sometimes her crazy was a little too over the top, but I feel like that was on purpose, because when she wasn't doing that, throw back to what Serena said with Night Watch, where she was so over the top, where you were like, what is going on? And you're like, oh, that's a choice.
Yes.
And and then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
She is acting as if the character is acting as if she is still a silent actress in a movie.
Yeah.
It was so, you can tell that that's the levels that you're dealing with her.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyway. All right. Good favorite parts, everybody. All right, guys. Wheel of questions.
Wheel
of questions.
All right, we're going with personal wedge. So this is where we are going to take a secondary or minor actor or character and kind of give them a shout out. Tracy.
Can I go first?
Okay. Yes.
So I thought, and granted I shouldn't have because of all the clues, was that Betty at the beginning was just going to be that one-off character that comes in, has a couple of lines, and leaves.
Yeah.
And I knew about the question when I saw her, and she had that couple of lines where she was the script reader and basically told him off without knowing he was standing like behind her.
Yeah.
It was so beautifully done. And I was like, wow, kudos to this girl for playing this girl. I want to like kudos to the character and characters to the actress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. Love her. This is all, all of that. But then I was like, no, she has more than one line. She interacts with two very big. Was that DeMille?
Yeah.
No, that was
his agent or something like that.
No, that was a buddy of his at Paramount, or not even Paramount. I don't even know. Yeah, it was Paramount.
But they gave her a first name and a last name, and then he mentions her last name again. I was like, I should have, from those clues, I'm like, okay, she's more important than she really is.
Yeah.
So that scratched my secondary character, because she was very much
primary,
intricate.
Yeah. She's up there.
So my backup then was Artie. He was great because I love him. He is Joe Friday from Dragnet, because I was like, how do I know him? But he's a much younger Jack Webb.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, he's still maybe like if they're A team, he'll be B team. So my minor character that I want to give a personal wedge to are the two girls on the phone.
Oh my God. They were told to laugh and they laughed.
And they did. And I was like, to a point where it was almost too much, because they were laughing so much. She hands the phone to her friend and they're just still laughing. Like
right.
What
Obnoxious.
the heck is this person on the other phone saying? Like, obviously it's drunk,
what's
it's
so
New Year's.
funny.
Yeah. But I was like, you know what? And I didn't think it was going to come back around when they were like, oh, we're done with the phone. And I was like, oh, good job, drunk girls. You remembered.
Right.
Yeah.
They actually were paying attention enough that they were going to follow through with that.
Obviously it was in the script, but I still was like, good job, drunk girls.
Oh my God.
That was a good shout, and I approve. Mine was the friend of Betty, the roommate of Betty, Connie, played by Jerry Ganser. And I only do this because this is still a 2021 thing. If you're going on a date, or you're going somewhere and you're not 100% sure, you've got that buddy with you, or is aware where she knows where you are. Something.
What was in pajamas and then threw herself together, put her makeup on, and drove her friend and was ready to go to battle with her.
Right. Was ready to go into the house with her.
Yeah. That's Betsy's ride or die. She loves those ride or die characters.
Ride or die characters.
And I agree.
At, man.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I approved. All right, Serena, who was your shout out? I know.
I don't even know if this is allowed. DeMille.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Love him.
Yeah.
He was and I don't want to say the one true friend, but he was the friend. He was the friend of Norma. He was like, no, do not let her know the reason they were calling for the car. He was kind of in the same boat as her husband number one, Max, who was just looking out for her well-being. He knew that she was struggling with melancholy, the word of the 50s before mental health awareness was even a thing. He was looking out for her.
Kudos for him though, for going to a movie like this and playing himself.
Yeah,
because I feel like
he didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do that. And he could have been, and probably they wrote this way. He could have been the real bad guy there. He could have. You know what I mean? And he was still not the hero, you know what I mean? And he still was like, yeah, I'll play myself. This is true Hollywood, or, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, yep, this happened to me last week. Like,
right,
you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy because this entire plot line really, it was shining a light on, and we've discussed this before, the silent film era turning over to talkies or voices or whatever they are. And people, an entire genre of actors and actresses that just, I don't want to say got wiped out, but kind of did.
They did.
People who had true talent, but then they weren't able to meld into the new up and coming way of making films.
It's a different acting style. It's similar to like theater,
like face acting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's different.
And there were a lot of actors who they were capable of making the transition, but they were like, no, this is just a fad. We're not going to do this.
Yeah. And they weren't open to it.
Classic example is Chaplin went a long time without it took him years before he was finally like, okay, fine, I'll do a talkie.
Yeah. The Charlie Chaplin. Now, quick question. Was that our silent film that we did?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that called again?
Gold Rush.
Okay. Sorry. I wanted to, I didn't have time to review. I'm like, what was that movie?
Yeah. Cause she did a Chaplin.
He did a Chaplin. I was wondering if you guys, when that scene came on, if you both were like, not like necessarily blown away, but I was just like, oh my God.
And she does a good job.
She does her vaudeville very well. Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh my God.
Well, I think
that was talent in her own right, you know.
That was supposed to show us that she actually did have talent. She wasn't this, she wasn't just talking a big game. She actually can do it. But nobody wants her at 50.
Yeah.
That is one of the lines that I wrote Bets. Good job. It's like you set me up for that one. Here we go. Yeah. He goes to her. There's nothing tragic about being 50 unless you're trying to be 25.
Yeah.
Which is true. Like it becomes sad when you're trying so hard to stay young. And it's like, no, embrace the beautiful fit. You know what I mean? Like, be that person.
But I think that even as most recent as maybe 5 or 10 years ago, the roles for women who are 50 were just not there. And that was just, you were either from 60 years ago to saying this message, and it's the same message.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Those are all our personal watches, right? All right. Wait a minute. What movies that we've reviewed does this remind us of? I had a bunch. Honestly.
I had so many. So many.
Because I've got My Man Godfrey was the very first one that popped into my head.
Oh, okay.
Because you have the rich bored, women who are like, oh, Carlos, boy toy, Singing in the Rain because of the transition talkies, obviously. And Night Watch, which Serena, you already mentioned. And then also Gaslight.
Yes.
Okay. Ready for mine?
Yes, go.
Okay. At the very beginning with the creepy music and the dark streets, it reminded me of Cat People. There it is.
I knew it.
Serena.
Sorry to take it from you. I read your mind,
but
I didn't write it down.
No, that was perfect. It also reminded me of An American in Paris.
Yep.
Because of, I think we see his room when we first start out. He's like a down on his luck writer, and that there's like a balcony. Yep. And I was like, this reminds me of his apartment in American in Paris.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Singing in the Rain, obviously. The Stay the night here with me. We've got everything. Here's your clothes and everything. Remind me of The Most Dangerous Game. Again, the bored rich people.
Yep.
Entertain me type thing.
Yep.
And I guess that's it.
Two things. One, I would totally watch the crap out of a rom-com where two teachers share the same desk and never meet.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. Yep.
It's so great. And then the other thing is, I think this is just a coincidence, but 3 years after this movie came out, there was a Salome movie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, right?
Interesting.
And it has nothing to do with this, and it looks like it was not well received, but still, that's random.
Yeah, that is random. Well,
I mean, it's a biblical, I guess. I guess that was, that was the era for all the big, 10 commandments and anyway, but yeah. All right, ladies, please remove your hats and silence your cell phones. How does this film hold up? It does.
It does.
It does.
So I wrote here, it's the moment in time excuse. And this is the classic, like this.
It doesn't even need an excuse though.
No, this is how it was.
Yeah. All right. Boom, we fixed it. I don't think there's much to fix, guys.
So I put an answer, but then I don't think it's a fix, but I have an answer.
Okay.
First off, I love the movie, but I thought the middle was a little slow. There was a lot in the middle that was like, just get to the point type of thing. Mm-hmm. I know that they were like building things up between both his relationship with Norma and Betty, right? Those the names. So I understand, but I was like, okay, I'm losing a little bit of interest now, but maybe it was just also the mood I was in. So, but that, if you can lose me in the middle if you can nail the ending.
Yes.
Which they did. So all is forgiven.
Yeah.
Because if they just keep going down and you're like, okay, anyway.
Yep.
My only other thought, and I had this thought because I wasn't 100% sure if the dead guy at the beginning was him, because I kind of forgot what his face was, and I wasn't sure if they were going to do a little switcheroo or whatever, or if when they pulled them out, he would just be like and like breathe or something. I wasn't quite sure.
I thought that too. I was like, what if he's alive still? There's no blood in the pool.
Yeah, I thought that too. But so the only thing I thought was at the beginning, he's like, I need a script to make money. And that this was going to be the script that got him money.
I thought that at the end of the movie, I was like, was this all a ploy?
But that's kind of the plot to Singing in the Rain.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
where they kind of made the musical about the musical that they made type of
Yep.
thing. And I felt like, and I don't know what movies came before this and what came after, but I was like, oh, well, it's been done.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a fix because it's been done. That's already a storyline.
It's already
So
been fixed.
those are just the thoughts that I had, but I was like, you know what? No, those actually don't fix it. It's just other avenues I suppose they could have taken, which I'm glad they didn't. So
Alternates.
yeah.
Anything that would need to be fixed, it would be a nitpicky fix.
Yeah. The plot held up. I agree with Trey on the pacing in the middle. I actually laid down for a couple minutes there and I was like, don't close your eyes, Serena. Don't close your eyes.
All right. Notes roundup. What's everyone got?
My last note was when they were like, sometimes he got bored or I got bored and she would entertain me.
Mhm.
And it was like her like dancing on the thing that's she did the chaplain, whatever.
Yep.
So as she's dancing on the table, she steps onto the couch and falls on top of him.
Yeah, I love that
But
scene.
it's very graceful and she falls like into the crook of his arms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was just well shot, well acted, well like choreographed or what like It was just great. And then he lights like a cigarette and she goes, "Here, give me this. I need it for a mustache." And she uses the butt end of the match to draw on the chaplain mustache.
Oh, that's
That it was just great. I just love that scene.
It was a great moment in her character. You're enjoying her in that character.
You
like
are
her in that moment.
And you can kind of see he is like a little bit bored or sad or whatever, but he is enjoying her company and they kind of have this closeness and you can kind of see how there is
a level
together.
of reciprocity there.
Yes.
It's not like it's not completely she's keeping him or anything,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Did anybody else have any notes? I think I said all mine.
Yeah, I covered pretty much everything throughout the entire episode here.
Yeah. All right. Martini shot, guys. Would you recommend it?
Yes.
Yes.
Jinx. That's a hard
It's an
3 yeses.
Easy yes.
I knew once I watched this movie, I knew that you guys both would be in agreement. Hard yeses.
Especially I feel like with the last line being that famous line that I had heard of, but I should have guessed it, but I didn't.
I knew you both were going to be yeses. And I just feel like it was a well-rounded film. It held up, even though it was black and white. And I always think I'm going to be disappointed. It held up. It outshined what I thought it was going to. It once again proved me wrong with black and white films, you know?
I liked it. And I was like, okay, this is a good film. Good job, Bets, again, picking a film or whatever. But it wasn't until the last line where I was like, this is why. This was it.
Yeah. That closing scene was everything.
And I didn't see it coming.
Yeah. Had they had a different closing scene, it could have totally changed my feeling on this movie. And they could have ended this whole movie differently. They could have gone a couple different routes here. Right. And had they done that, it would have been what it is. I mean, it's definitely,
again, if you do a rewatch on it, the whole movie is just crescendoing to this moment. And you can read the movie that way. And it's so great. It's so great. Yeah.
It was a nice that an old movie can give you surprises.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like even because spoilers, like even though this movie has been around forever and people talk about it, quote it all the time, it was still a nice surprise. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
All right. Thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear, you can find more great episodes over on our website, www.millennialsatthemoviehouse.com, or wherever you find your podcasts. Curious about updates, extras from our episodes, or want to add your 2 cents about a reviewed movie? We're also on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle for both is @themoviemillies. Check us out and make sure to follow us. So until next time,
We're millennials.
And we'll see you at the movie house.